June 29, 2025. Just before sunrise, 6 Russian warships moved quietly through dark waters toward Ukraine. These boats carried deadly cargo, more than 380 fighting men, 24 heavy war machines, and massive amounts of military gear. Their goal was simple: sneak past Ukraine's shore guards and launch a brutal surprise attack. Russian war leaders thought their scheme was unbeatable. No spy cameras in space had seen them. No detection equipment had found their path. Every part had been reviewed multiple times. To the battle planners in Moscow, this seemed like a flawless secret mission. Hidden forces sailing through dangerous seas under nighttime cover. They were completely wrong. Ukrainian army chiefs had prepared a deadly surprise that would totally destroy this Russian attack. What came next proves that in war, success remains doubtful until the final moment. Here's this incredible story. Exactly at 3:14 in the morning, while complete darkness covered everything, the Black Sea stayed quiet until it suddenly exploded. 6 Russian warboats, built specifically for secret beach attacks, sliced through rough waters, moving west from stolen Crimea. Crammed inside these ships were over 380 Russian fighting soldiers, 24 BTR-82A war vehicles, and piles of bullets and explosives. Their target was a swampy bay 120 kilometers east of Molev. Russian spies had chosen this spot because detection equipment couldn't watch it properly. Above, no spy cameras looked down, no flying robots circled nearby, no radio messages gave them away. From the Russian leader's viewpoint, this looked like perfect planning: quiet, invisible, and ready for maximum damage. Their plan meant building a landing base before dawn and pushing north with tank support by 6:00 a.m. Moscow had bet everything on this risky move, but far above in the thin air, 6,000 meters over the sea, something watched in complete silence. An unmarked spy plane, a changed Ukrainian PD-2 scouting drone, hung motionless between warm air pockets. Its heat-seeing equipment followed warm spots with deadly accuracy. Just 2 months before, workers had improved it with better radio systems and special hiding materials. At 3:15 a.m., it found them. 6 heat marks moving in tight order, showing warm patterns matching diesel engines and human forms. The plane didn't attack, it didn't even move position, it just sent information. Every 10 seconds, the machine transmitted coded bursts of facts, pictures, and heat images to Ukraine's main control room in Kiev. Each picture became clearer than the last one. The information packages had timestamps, location data, and were checked by ground-based radar centers. The invasion had been spotted not by space cameras or tracking systems, but by a $30,000 flying device hiding in clear view. Russia stayed totally unaware. They still believed their secret operation was going perfectly. But now Ukraine had the edge of time, and in fighting, timing kills more effectively than raw power. No bullets had been shot yet, but the battlefield had already changed, and the hunters were about to become the hunted. If it were your choice, would you attack right away or wait for the perfect killing spot? Share your thoughts in the comments and see how a Ukrainian commander makes exactly the right choice. At 3:16 a.m., just 60 seconds after the first drone message, a secret alarm rang inside a protected command shelter beneath Kiev. The coded video feed from the PD-2 plane went straight to a planning table where Ukraine's best commanders, spy officers, and air war experts met. Nobody talked for 10 seconds. Then General Anatoly Vashenko, leader of the Southern Guard Force, stepped closer with his eyes locked on the screen. The Russian boats were exactly where he worried they'd show up, inside the weakest part of the shore defense. If they reached land, Ukrainian front troops in Mykolaiv would be trapped within hours. "Wait for my order," Vashenko said quietly. "Not yet." The room looked at him with shock. He pointed toward a narrow waterway near the harbor mouth, a natural sound dead spot surrounded by stone cliffs. "They won't hear incoming shots if we hit them there. We wait for 7 minutes." That's all he needed. During this time, targeting information went to 3 Berovai rocket systems placed 22 miles inland. At the same time, a ram-to-attack drone was loaded at a nearby war airfield. 2 Neptune ship-killer rockets, changed for hitting boats, were put into moving launch boxes hidden under fake covering. No expensive fighter jets, no heavy bombing guns, just a few carefully picked weapons chosen for hiding, speed, and crushing deadliness. The strategy was basic: let Russia come into the trap area, then destroy them completely. By 3:23 a.m., all systems were ready. Russia, still trusting in their perfect secret mission, kept moving west. Ukraine had set a line not on charts but in time. Please help us by clicking like and subscribe. The real destruction is about to start. Keep watching. At 4:42 am, the Russian group entered the chosen kill area, a bay surrounded by tall shores and muddy swamps, perfect for soaking up radar waves, but also a natural sound box. Inside this closed space, engine noises bounced inward, but outside sounds couldn't get through. Not knowing they were being watched, the 6 Russian boats kept their exact formation, each ship placed exactly 40 meters apart to prevent crashes. They were 120 kilometers from their target shore, but now only 17 seconds from destruction. At 4:42:13, a single order went out from the Ukrainian war room: fire. The first attack came from shore. 3 Berovai rocket groups, hidden in a crop field, fired a complete round of 80mm Tunid rockets, built for area bombing. Each rocket held a high explosive braking warhead able to tear through armor and burn exposed soldiers. The rockets curved upward, then screamed down onto the water in a focused pattern. 4 seconds later, the second attack hit. A Ram-2 suicide drone, a changed LA-100 aircraft, dropped from 5,000 feet at a 70-degree diving angle. Its 4-kilogram double-charge warhead crashed through the bridge of the front boat before exploding, causing chain blasts from weapons stored below. The shockwaves pounded the other ships, but the attack wasn't finished. From 60 kilometers away, 2 R-360 Neptune flying rockets raced in low across the waves, staying just 15 feet above water level to avoid being spotted. Using ground-following guidance and active radar seekers, they locked onto the heat marks from the ship motors. One rocket hit directly in the middle of the flagship. The second crashed into a boat filled with fuel tanks, creating a firestorm that lit up the whole bay like daylight. In less than 50 seconds, the water was boiling with flames, smoke, and screams. Russian soldiers jumped into the freezing water only to be killed by metal pieces, waves, or fuel-fed fires. The attack ended almost as fast as it began. The outcome: all 6 boats sunk, all 24 armored units gone, over 320 Russian people either dead or missing. Only 4 survivors were finally found, burned, confused, and barely breathing. What made this attack legendary wasn't just the size of damage, it was how clean it was. Ukraine had used no warplanes, no satellites, and no billion-dollar weapons, just a drone, some rockets, smart tactics, and perfect timing. What hurts more than losing? Being too embarrassed to admit it. Russia uses silence to hide deep shame. By 4:47 am, the Black Sea looked peaceful again, at least to space cameras. 6 ships had disappeared under the surface. Fuel fires flickered across the water. Burned wreckage floated like grave markers, and hundreds of Russian soldiers had simply vanished. Yet, in Moscow, there was no announcement, no news meeting, no admission of the disaster. The Russian Defense Ministry stayed quiet. Its daily briefing made no mention of the beach attack force. Russian state news covered unrelated fleet training in the Arctic, even as multiple independent watching services reported total communication loss from the landing group since 3:30 am. Behind locked doors, panic had spread. At GRU headquarters in Moscow, internal messages marked the mission as likely failed. A leaked court conversation shared by rebel groups captured an FSB official saying, "The fleet is gone. We don't even have flight recorders." It's like they knew we were coming. The Kremlin's worst nightmare had come true, a complete operational failure revealed not by NATO satellites or advanced spying, but by a cheap Ukrainian drone and brilliant battlefield patience. Numbers put together by Western experts were crushing. Over $120 million in Russian equipment destroyed in under 3 minutes. The Southern Front lost a mechanized company needed for the Mykolaiv attack, a 48-hour delay in Russia's northern advance due to supply breakdown. Ukrainian leaders, meanwhile, made no attempt to hide the attack. At noon, General Vashenko appeared briefly before reporters, saying simply, "When attackers come by water, they should get ready to sink." The world paid attention. Pentagon experts praised the mission as a perfect example of uneven defensive fighting. European newspapers called it the Bay of Death. But what really worried Russian military planners wasn't the firepower. It was the spy breakthrough. Their supposed radar blind spot had been solved, not blocked. Ukraine hadn't disrupted it. They had learned to see through it. The PD-2 drone's use of heat layering and flying height had beaten Russian counter-spy systems. This meant any future landing operation using that path was now impossible, and worse, the soldiers' bodies couldn't be recovered. Families would get no coffins, only silence. It wasn't just a tactical loss, it was a mental breakdown, and for the Kremlin, silence was no longer protection. It was admission. In a conflict ruled by billion-dollar systems and satellite-guided accuracy, an upgraded drone costing less than a fancy car had just changed the rulebook. The PD-2 scouting drone used in the Black Sea mission was worth only $30,000. It didn't fire a rocket, it wasn't super fast, it didn't even carry a gun. But its value lay in what it saw and how quickly it shared. Every 10 seconds, it sent real-time heat pictures, GPS information, and speed tracking straight to the Ukrainian command shelter. While Russian leaders relied on false safety and assumed blind areas, Ukraine relied on live spy work and discipline. That discipline, mixed with accuracy, became deadly. Don't shoot until you can end it, General Vashenko would later teach younger officers at a war school. You don't need to scare the enemy, you need to finish them. And that's exactly what Ukraine did. The mission used 3 Buravai launch platforms, not advanced artillery, but old systems improved with digital targeting. A Ram-2 weighting weapon built from a converted scouting platform with a 4-kilogram double charge. 2 R-360 Neptune rockets, originally designed to destroy cruisers, changed for accuracy strikes on slow-moving landing boats. None of these weapons were revolutionary by themselves, but coordinated under proper timing and spy work, they became overwhelmingly deadly. This wasn't simply a win. It was a statement that Ukraine could cause crippling losses without needing foreign air help or premium equipment. The cost of the entire ambush, rockets, drones, and missiles combined, was calculated at under $2 million. Meanwhile, Russia lost over $120 million, dozens of armored machines, and more than 300 elite soldiers in under 3 minutes. Perhaps more importantly, Ukraine didn't just defend ground. They changed viewpoint. NATO specialists began mentioning the attack in presentations as a model of uneven combat. In the US, former Admiral James Grady noted, "It's not about how powerful your weapon is. It's about when you use it and who's watching the enemy before you attack." The water was calm again, but the lesson was clear. This conflict would not be decided by raw force. It would be decided by spy work, speed, and the kind of thinking that turns $30,000 into a strategic earthquake. In a war often judged by the number of tanks, the cost of rockets, or the count of units on a map, Ukraine's ambush on the Black Sea showed something far more troubling to its enemies. This is no longer a conflict of muscle, but a conflict of minds. A $30,000 drone, quiet, weaponless, and invisible, started a chain of decisions that destroyed an entire Russian beach force in under 3 minutes. There were no dramatic air attacks, no carpet bombing, just timing, spy work, and accuracy. The Ukrainian forces didn't need superior firepower, they needed only the patience to wait and the wisdom to attack at the perfect moment. Russia lost over $120 million in equipment, 24 armored machines, and hundreds of soldiers, not in a long battle, but in a surgical strike. The sea became their graveyard, and the silence from the Kremlin said more than any news story. For Ukraine, this wasn't simply a victory. It was a turning point, a moment that proved their leaders could outthink a bigger army, that courage and intelligence could beat metal and numbers. And for the world watching, especially those of us who lived through the Cold War, who've seen decades of international fighting, this moment should hit powerfully because it asks a question no commander can ignore. What happens when intelligence becomes more deadly than firepower? What would America do in the same situation? Would we wait? Would we attack? Or would we hesitate like Russia did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in the power of strategy over raw force, consider subscribing. Your support helps us share these true stories of modern combat. This wasn't just a fight, it was a message. And somewhere another drone might already be watching.